My wife and I lived for a very short time in the state of West Virginia. I was traveling by myself in those days as I am now, and we didn't have any children yet. My wife was keeping the office at home, and I would be gone for 3 or 4 weeks and then come home for a bit and back out on the road. It wasn't really what we wanted to do or how we wanted to do it, but God had called us to evangelism, and so we did what we had to do, and we enjoyed it. But it was a little difficult on the marriage. And I was finishing up a meeting in southern Ohio, and I was looking at my map to see how far it was to get home. I was to be home for about 5 days. And I looked at the map, and to my amazement, I was only about 4 hours from home. And I called my wife, and I said, Diane, I'm only 4 hours away. And I said, I think tonight, it was Friday, and I said, I think tonight after the service, I'm gonna drive home. I've been gone. I can't wait to see you, and I think I'm gonna drive tonight. And she said, John, don't do that. It's gonna be really foggy. It's been foggy here. And she said, there's deer everywhere. Just wait till the morning. I said, no, I think I'll be okay. I think I can make it. I'll be careful. She said, well, I'll wait up for you. No, I said, don't wait up. It'll be 2:30 in the morning. Just get some rest. I'll get there when I get there. Well, finished the meetings, got in the car, and drove down through those mountains to Smithburg, West Virginia. And it was foggy and deer were everywhere. But I finally rolled into our driveway in Smithburg, West Virginia. Now, Smithburg was a huge town. There were 2 buildings, our house and a Highway County building. That's it. And my wife had stayed up. She'd made a little meal, and it was about 2:30 in the morning, and boy, we just kind of sat there and ate and caught up, and just tried to think about some things while I was home and what we would do. And she said, John, while you're home this time, I want to go somewhere. I didn't want to go anywhere. Just got home. I said, well, where do you want to go? There wasn't a lot to do in West Virginia. We were 50 miles from the nearest big town, Clarksburg, and we were 50 feet from the nearest copperhead snake. There wasn't a lot to do in West Virginia. I said, what do you want to do? She said, I don't care. I just need to get out of the house. We had our office in the house, and she said, I just get tired of being here other than go to church and go to the store to get groceries. I mean, I just want to go somewhere. Well, I wasn't sure, what we could do. But as she was kind of putting some things away, I picked up our weekly newspaper out of West Union, West Virginia. 4 pages. And there was nothing in the news of any importance. But on the back of that 4-page newspaper, the last bottom half of it was devoted to classified ads. And in this particular copy, down in the far right-hand corner, was an ad advertising an estate sale, an auction, the next morning at 10 o'clock in a town about 30 miles away. And I said, hey, there's an auction tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Would you like to go to that? She said, yeah, that sounds like fun. I said, well, we better get some sleep. And so we got some sleep, and the next morning we didn't get up very early. And we had a little breakfast, and we finally decided, yeah, let's go. Jumped in the car. Now, I had no idea where we were going. I knew the general direction of this place, but we didn't have GPS in those days, didn't have cell phones, didn't have any of that stuff. And so we stopped and asked directions to this town. And in West Virginia, when you ask for directions, here's how they give them to you. They'll say, yeah, you're on the right road. You keep going down this road. And when you've crossed the river the second time, you've gone too far. You got to turn around and take that next right. And then you go down that road, and when you pass the 3rd big tree on the left, you've gone too far. You got to come back and take the next left. That's how they give you directions. Well, we were getting closer, but we had to stop like 3 or 4 times to get directions, and we finally found this estate sale. Now, we weren't there to buy anything, but auctions in West Virginia were a little different than where I grew up. I grew up in Wisconsin, went to a lot of farm auctions with my dad as a kid, In Wisconsin, if you bid on something, you'd raise your hand or you'd kind of nod to the auctioneer and he knew you were interested in this thing, and that's just kind of how it worked. But down there, when you came to the auction, you had to go through this little area where there were some people, and they would take your name, your address, your phone number. And once they got all your data, they would give you a card about this size, and it had a number on it, like the number 14 or 48 or whatever. And they'd give you this card, and so if you decided you wanted to bid on something, you'd hold up your card. And the auctioneer would see it, and if you won the bid, then he would record your number. He would read your number, the secretary would record it next to the price you agreed on. And when you left the auction, you turned in your card, and they added up all the totals to your card, and you paid for it and went your way. So they gave us one of these cards after we gave them our information. We didn't really need it. We weren't there to buy anything. We're just there on a date. We're just there to have some fun together. And so the crowd, they were all up by the house. They were selling all the junk, all the little stuff. And we weren't interested in that. So our eyes were drawn to the front lawn of this estate. The couple that had died were in their 80s, and their children were selling off all of their things of a lifetime. And the front yard of that estate was row after row after row of beautiful, what we consider to be antique furniture, beautifully crafted. Bedroom sets, dressers of drawers, tables, chairs, just magnificent. And we started walking down this row of furniture, looking at it, thinking, wow, it's beautiful. Wonder what that'll sell for. And we're just having a good time. We got to the end of that row, started up the second row again, admiring all these things. When we got to the end of that second row, there was a table, just a small table, maybe 6 feet long, a couple feet wide. And there were some things on the table, and there was a boy, probably 7, 8, maybe 9. He was standing there at the end of that table, and he was peering into a box on the table. And we didn't disturb him. We kind of went around him and went to the next row of furniture and went down, came up the fourth row. And when we came up the end of that row, he was still there, peering in that box. He wasn't touching anything. His hands were behind his back. He's just peering in that box. Well, now I'm getting curious. I'm thinking, I wonder what's in the box. In West Virginia, it could be anything. It could be snakes. It could be rats. It could be anything. But we didn't disturb it. We just kept looking at furniture. And that boy kept looking in the box. Well, finally, they finished up by the house. All the little stuff was sold, and they moved the table down, kind of a stage down to where all that furniture was, and they got repositioned. And they started bringing this furniture and selling it there, and we were watching, and I kept an eye on that box. And that little boy, he never left it. Finally, someone came, and they got that box. They carried it up to the auctioneer's stand, and that little guy, he walked right up and stood smack dab in front of that auctioneer. Well, I got up where I could see. I want to see now what was in that box that he was going to buy. And finally, they slid it over in front of the auctioneer, and he reached down in there, and he pulled out this old stuffed dog. Now, this thing had seen its day. When he pulled it out of the box, billows of dust flew into the air. The tail was kind of dangling by a string. The ear had been chewed off of this stuffed dog. It was a wreck of a toy. But he pulled it out of that box, and he said, all right, oh, give me a quarter for this toy. And the boy's hand, it shot immediately up. And the auctioneer said, I got a quarter right here. Oh, give me 50 cents. And the boy's hand went up again. And the auctioneer said, no, you have the first bid. If nobody else bids, you can have it for a quarter. But if someone else bids, then you can bid again. The boy seemed to understand. He said, oh, give me 50 cents. There must have been a man in the back swatting flies with his cart. I don't know what he was doing back there. The auctioneer said, I got 50 cents back there. Who'll give me 75? The boy's hand went up again. He said, I got 75 cents right here. Who'll give me $1? Well, now all eyes were on this ragged old toy. Going for $1, it wasn't worth a nickel. And finally, the auctioneer said, sold. This boy right here, 75 cents. He said, what's your number, son? Oh, you don't have a number, do you, son? He said, Mom, Dad, where are you? Your boy's up here. He just bought something. Raise your number, Dad. Mom, where are you? The boy said, Sir, I don't have parents. The auctioneer said, I'm sorry. I'm real sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you. I tell you what, we'll just forget the numbers. We'll just take care of this ourselves. You give me the 75 cents and I'll give you the toy and that'll be it. 75 cents. I watched as that boy's hands went deep into those ragged blue jeans he was wearing. Tears began to roll out of his eyes. The auctioneer said, Son, don't you have any money? I'm sorry. I'd like to just give you the toy, but I can't. I've been hired to sell these things. I can't just give it away. I'm sorry. I'll have to sell it to the man in the back for 50 cents. I'm sorry. The boy turned to walk away, tears streaming down his face. It was deathly quiet. No one seemed to know what to do. I sure didn't. But suddenly in that quietness, a voice pierced the air from the back. The voice of a man. And he said, Sir, give that boy the dog. Put it on this number. And he held a card with a number. The auctioneer read that number. The secretary wrote it down next to the 75 cents. And the auctioneer, he ran off that platform and he caught the boy and he said, Son, it's yours. It's yours. Someone's paid the price of your toy. It's yours. I watched as that boy, he grabbed that old ragged toy like it was the only thing he had. And I watched him as he circled around the edge of that crowd, and he'd stop about every 5 feet, and he'd get on his tiptoes, and he'd look toward that back corner to see if he could find that man that had paid the price of his toy. Teenager, one night I was that boy. God said, who wants to come to heaven? I do. Dear God, I want to come to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. Lord, please, I want to go to heaven. God said, John, what do you have to pay for your sin? There's a wage to sin. It must be paid. What do you have? My hands went deep into my robes of righteousness as my dad was a deacon. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. My sister was the pianist at the church. I was president of the youth group. But all that was filthy rags. God said, I'm sorry, John. I'd like to just give away heaven, but I can't. The price has to be paid for your sin. I'm sorry. And I turned to walk away. But thank God, teenager Jesus, he spoke up. He said, Father, give that boy heaven. Put it on the cross. And that night, August the 1st, 1967, at 10:30 at night, in a little counseling room at Camp Shatek in northern Wisconsin, I bowed my head and I asked Jesus to be my Savior. Jesus paid it all.